Hey y'all, welcome to AllieCat Customs. If you've got a hot rod that has a C-clip style rear axle and you're afraid of one of these little clips ruining your day, and you've also had horror stories of how the old school C-clip eliminators are leak prone, I got a pretty cool product to show y'all, so y'all stick around. All right, y'all, so as y'all can see, I got this 10-bolt completely torn down. I'm doing a whole lot of work on this axle, and I have a full build series on building this 10-bolt that's going in this Silverado. And what I'm doing today is going to be installing a set of C-clip eliminator shafts. And what those do is, with a factory axle retention for these 10 bolts, it's just a small C-clip that's located at the end of the axle shaft inside the differential. And that becomes a very dangerous axle retention, especially on anything that has a lot of horsepower, trying to put a lot of power to the ground, and any kind of racing. Matter of fact, a lot of racing sanctioning bodies outlaw C-clip axle shafts because if you're applying power and abuse to it, you can break an axle shaft, and that's just a fact of life for any style axle. But on a C-clip axle, if you break the shaft, the axle shaft, wheel and tire and everything comes sliding out the end of the axle tube, and that is just flat out dangerous to have a wheel and tire unretained flying through the track or wherever you are, off-road and trail riding. I mean, I've seen some very dangerous situations when a wheel and tire exits the axle tube. And also if you have a failure in the differential, and the differential inside grenades, then any axle retention, the C-clip can just fall out because the differential explodes inside, and the same thing happens. Axle shafts can slide out. All right, so for those of y'all that's been around racing for a while, you probably have seen, and you may have used them yourself, is the older style C-clip eliminators. Mine that I currently have in my C10 are from Moser Engineering, and I did a video on me installing them back several years ago, and they've ran pretty well for me. I had about 8,000 miles on my truck before I blowed the motor up in it, and it's been sitting for a while. But they do tend to want to leak, especially when you put some miles on them, because they're not designed for street driving, and they even explicitly say in their instructions they're made for drag racing. The way the seals and stuff are, the way the bearings are, they're just not made for a lot of long-term street use. So a lot of people don't run that style if they want to run on a street. I've seen people even go as far as putting like a 4 9-inch housing ends on their axles so they can run a regular style wheel bearing on it, set up like your tapered bearings for like a 9-inch or something like that. But something I really found that's really neat, I haven't tried it, so I'm excited, that's why I'm making this video, is the guys at Got Torque have designed a C-clip eliminator that uses, it looks just from the shaft, it looks just like what you would find on a regular semi-float axle shaft with the press-on style tapered bearings on it. So I'm really excited to get these put on this truck and test them out with this truck that weighs probably 4,500 pounds with, going to have a whole lot of horsepower and a sticky tire on it, putting a lot of miles on it. So get this put in here so I can finish this axle build and get this truck back on the road. So I'm about to dive in and show y'all how I put them on. All right, y'all, since I got this axle torn all the way down to begin with, and I'm working with just a bare housing to install my C-clip eliminators, that's why I'm not really doing this as a how-to. But the one step that I'm about to do to install the kit is a very critical step. Matter of fact, in the instructions it says if you mess this step up, you got to find a new housing. So I just want to show y'all what I'm doing, and what they want, and it's a critical measurement, is on the end of the housing right here. This is where the backing plate and stuff bolts up, and just in here is a boss or a ledge that the brake backing plate registers on. It lines up on this little boss right here, and what they want to know is if it's 160 thousandth or smaller boss here, then you have to you move your cut line further up on the end of the housing here. And I believe on the instructions, you cut 125 thousandths away from the boss. Now, if this boss sticks out to like 225 thousandths, then you cut this off flush with the end of the boss on the instructions. So I'm gonna measure, since I've already measured mine, and you measure it just with I got a dial type of micrometer, and you're just measuring a depth measurement on it. And mine measures out to, let's see, there, square it up. It is looking like 136 thousandths on measurement on here. So I'm well within the 160 thousandths or smaller. So I'm going to mark a cut line further out here, and I'm going to recheck the instructions to make sure where that line is. Make it a good straight line all the way around here, so I can cut the end of this bearing pocket off, so I can get ready to put the C-clip eliminator on. So about to start marking now. Once I get the housing end cut off, I use a flap disc on an angle grinder to smooth things up. I feel this gives me the best control when shaving the end down. To check the length of the housing end, I use a micrometer and a Sharpie. I mark all of the high spots as I go around the housing and then fill in where it needs to be ground down. Then I gently cut, making sure I only hit where the Sharpie marks are. This is something you definitely want to sneak up on, so be patient with it. Alrighty, got this axle cut up. As you can see, I got the bearing pocket cut out, and this is 125 thousandths, around plus or minus a little bit more than that probably, but it's supposed to be a little over 125 thousandths, because this is less than 160 thousandths. So with these two measurements here, that's what it is. This is supposed to seat inside of here. And at that tapered point of the bearing pocket, it's supposed to seat on the tapered part of this new bearing pocket. The tapered part sits here, and that O-ring sits on the flat piece, the flat side right here, and it cannot touch the body of this. So that's a pretty critical measurement. And in the instructions, it says if you get that wrong, you get to buy a new axle. So I got it close, and it looks good. It's gonna seal up. Everything's clean, ready to rock and roll. All right, so I got my bearing pocket shaved down and got it trimmed down close to where it needs to be, so that this will fit. And what this is the bearing pocket that comes with the kit, the new bearing pocket that fits for the C-clip eliminator shafts, and it just mounts up here and bolts on. And so what it actually does, and the reason why you got to had the measurement right, is because you sandwich your brake backing plate on here and square it up where it looks on there. And then when this seat's on there, that sandwiches the two together and puts everything in line. So you're trying to work with the different thicknesses of the brake backing plate and also the end of the housing here. And on the instructions, it says that you have to trim shave the brake backing plate down flush so that this will work, so that this can sit flush on there. So I'm about to do that and then reconfirm how this is fitting before I get just absolutely right on the measurement that they want you to be at. That way I don't have an uh-oh on the measurements. So next thing I'm gonna do is shave these down and keep checking my fitment. So about to get after it. The new bearing pockets are machined to capture the axle shaft retainer bolts to help make installation easier. As you can see, I'm not using the O-ring since this is just a temporary install. I put some gear oil on the new bearing pockets to help the axle seal slide into place. Then I gently start to slide the axle bearing into the pocket. It can be a challenge to get the seal to go in, so watch very carefully as you push the axle into the housing. If you see the seal start to swell out, back up and restart the install. I used my thumbs on the retainer plate until I could get the bolts started, and then I gently walk the shaft in with the bolts. Using a wrench is usually easier since the retaining nuts like to share real estate with the lug studs on the axle shaft. All right, y'all. Well, I hate that I wasn't able to do a full how-to on the install of these C-clip eliminators. Being that this is a huge project and I got so many things going on, I just literally am sticking these axle shafts in the axle today so that I could put it on the truck so I could check ride height. Once I get the ride height set and all the bags of stuff mounted, the axle's coming back out for a full build. But I just wanted to make this video to show off these really nice C-clip eliminators. The guys at Got Torque, they got a really cool design. And I love the fact that they used the taper roller bearings instead of the roller bearing design of the older C-clip eliminators. Those were great for drag racing and for lightweight cars and stuff like that. But for something like this truck at 4,500 pounds and wanting to drive on the highway for extended period of times, having the taper roller bearings and good quality seals are really going to make a much nicer product. So I really like these, and I can't wait to actually get this truck on the road, and we're gonna put some real hard abuse on it. So if you want to see how these axle shafts and the C-clip eliminators fare out, make sure you subscribe to my channel. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit like and leave a comment and all that kind of stuff. I love reading the comments. And don't forget to subscribe so you can keep on seeing the rest of my projects right here at AllieCat Customs.